Hey there, guys, it's Turok, and today I'm going to do a review of One Piece chapter 1115. The Raw version has come out today on Thursday. I actually checked this morning and it was not out yet. Now I keep my eye on this better. I saw someone else on YouTube, what's his name, that does which guy is that? He has the purple theme. I just saw his name, where'd he go? Anyways, he's always doing the live reaction. He does a reaction and oh yeah, one podcast did one too, and there's the other team. So a couple people have already doing this, so I was like, oh shit, it is out. I want to get this out because Fridays I'm busy, really busy. I usually don't have the. What is my hair doing? I'm gonna keep my hair in a ponytail today. So anyway, in the last chapter, the Vegapunk began telling his story about he began talking about data he conceived, not conceived, he found, that was proving that there's something going on based on stuff he found. And this one explained too that he found some of the poneglyphs too. So I thought it was just mainly the research he had from Clover, but this also says so I guess a lot of the research he had from Professor Clover allowed him to read some of the poneglyphs himself, and he brings it up, and he started telling it some of the story through about how he knew that something was going to happen soon. I'm still very gray on like what did he what was he able to what kind of instruments and whatnot did he use to figure out that there was going to be this cataclysmic thing that we know is probably the Uranus death machine, that one of the ancient weapons that Eam and the Gorosei have control over, and they use it to destroy Lulusia to try and get rid of Sabo after he saw too much at Castle Pangea. But and we saw a lot of reactions from people around the world, and we continue to see some today. And his main and two other takeaways we got from this in the last one was, first, we got to see the Mother Flame. Now I have to change the way I'm understanding this chapter. I said in the last chapter that maybe the machine we saw destroy Lulusia was something that Vegapunk created, and then and he made it for like more benevolent purposes, and then the Gorosei then had someone else repurpose it to be a weapon of destruction. But now I'm thinking it is the ancient weapon that they've kept in their possession, and due to it being, I'm thinking it's being made from an advanced technology of the ancient kingdom, which is ironic because it's the one the government destroyed. But because it's from a fantastical advanced technology country who had advanced technology, it is still able to work after all these centuries, but they were lacking the fuel to make it work, and now they're using the Mother Flame from Vegapunk to power it. Also, I think we briefly saw the side note. We saw briefly the Iron Giant at some point, and we still don't know what that part's going to be. This chapter totally just focuses more of what Vegapunk discovered. And the last takeaway too from the last chapter that carries over today is that we find out about Joy Boy, who was known as the world's first pirate. And that he came from the ancient kingdom. So it also kind of suggested that he spearheaded the war against the other kingdoms. And he doesn't really get into why they did it. I don't know, did he? Maybe he kind of did. But a lot of other stuff happens today, so let's get into it. So this one's called this chapter is called One Continental Fragments. Again, this is like not the official translation, but we'll get into why that is called Continental Fragments in a little bit. And there's a cute cover story that shows what's that, Inari? Is that Oda? Wait, what's her name? No, his name Hiyori. We see Yamato and uh what's the name? Oh, it is Hiyori. Oh, I didn't say. Hiyori and Otoko are with Yamato and they're eating lunch together, kind of. And uh, I'm lost what's happening with that. I think she owed Yamato's going on some kind of trip around Wano, kind of little quest that Kanenmon sent her on. But so I'm gonna get into the chapter now, though. When you get to now, oh, that guy. What is that guy? I just caught something. I was curious, but now I see. So we first go to the flower capital in Wano, and and we see that yeah, Oda, not Oden, what's his name? Momonosuke and his retainers, Kinemon and the other retainers. I can't remember some of the names. There's the one there, the one who's got the she's that ninja type who was working with helping Nami a lot in the Wano arc. And who's that there? That little girl who's gonna be her? No, Otama or Otoko. Wait, you know what? No, Otoko's the other one, so this must be Otama. She's there too, and they found a audio transmission Denden Mushi, because that was Orochi's, and they are listening to Vegapunk's message too. I guess some other people must have had those too. Then, and how would they tell him? Because see, they don't have a lot of contact with the outside world, so that's great that they found this though. One moment. And to continue that, it shows because Momonosuke's read Oden's journal that Yamato had. He's talking aloud to himself as they're listening here, and he's like, "Oh, Joy Boy, so you were also a pirate like Luffy." And Kinemon overhears him saying that, like, "Wait, what do you know about this, my lord? How do you know of him?" And I didn't realize I forgot about that. He probably wouldn't have shared much of that with them. And now we get a funny scene here. We go to a jail cell at the G4 Navy base. I'm trying to think, is that the one where Kobe and Himepo were? Or was that G? No, I thought that was G14. I think that was G14. So we're at this one of these Navy bases. And we are reunited with the members of that fake Straw Hat crew back from Sabaody, and the return to Sabaody part of the arc. And I'll get to the other part in the funny bit in a minute. But they're in jail again. So I don't know if they were caught last time. I'm trying to think now if they escaped from Sentomaru. I'm thinking they did. Because when I get to the joke here, it's like they did not fully give up what they were trying to do, but instead took on another impersonation of a different crew. But they're talking, and the Sanji guy's like, who cares about that guy? It's Joey Boy. I bet I could beat him, right, Captain? The guy's kind of an idiot. He's like, yeah, sure you could, but of course he died. He's kind of already dead. Oh, no. He said, I bet you could beat him, Captain. Okay, I misread it. And like, sure, I could beat him. Of course I could. Clearly I'm the best. I'm the strongest. He's one of the other ones like, yeah, that's our captain. The only thing bigger than his confidence is his belly. And he's just going on and on bragging. But the funny part is, what these guys have done now is now they're impersonating Captain Kidd and his crew. He's got his hair up like Kidd. He's wearing the goggles. He's got a fake scar on his face now. He's wearing a coat that looks like Kidd's. And the Sanji one is dressed up like Killer. He's got a fake mask over his face. It looks like he's either got lift up or split, but you can tell it's that Sanji guy. He's got the same. He's imitated Killer's mask. And you can see another one there. It's dressed up in the background. Which one would that be? The Frankie one? The guy with like Frankie. He's dressed up like that one member of Kids Crew that had like a vest and the long grayish or silver hair. And I think the other one up there is I can see the Nico Robin impersonator, and she's dressed up like someone too. She's got some weird hair going on. I'm not familiar with all the crew members or remember exactly which one that is. So, oh yeah, that's his name. So, and they show his name there. His name is Demaro Black. Yeah. So that idiot's still around. He looks like he got caught this time playing kid. He probably went around. He probably went to a different island and played the same shtick. Oh no! Given how stupid he is, it's possible he just stayed back in Sabaody and tried it. Like as long as there were no high-ranking officers or pacifistas there, he probably thought he could get away with it again. But that's all we see of those guys. So now we go back to Egghead, and we see more of the Navy soldiers there responding to this reacting to the part about Joy Boy, this central figure in a great war. Is that how he said? Did he talk about the war? I think he did specifically. Let me find that one. Wait, at the end. Uh, Wait, where'd that go? I don't think they talk about the war until this part. He talks about the war in this one, but he first talked about. Let me pull this up actually. That's why I got this like this. Da, 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 da. Yeah. Anyway, he didn't bring up the war yet. The last bit was he was bringing up about this advanced kingdom. So no one's even supposed to know about that. When Clover brought that up, they shot him before. So he started by bringing that up and about Joy Boy. And now he continues by stopping for a moment and to say, bear in mind, folks, I only have a handful of these poneglyphs, so I don't have the full story. But the ones I have read clearly talk about a catastrophic war that happened in the past. And then he goes back to Joy Boy and it's like Joy Boy was at the forefront of one end of this war, and he faced off against the world government. And this shocks the Marines even more. We see some of the Marines going, "Wait a minute, that's us." So we were in some big war that no one ever talks about. And then some people are like, "Well, that kind of makes sense that we would fight someone named Joy Boy if he's a pirate, as Vegapunk just said." Wait a second here. Oh, in a minute. Okay, yeah. So he continues here and talks about the world government really wasn't the world government. At the time, it was more of an alliance of different kingdoms that were working together. And it was the only way in which they would be able to take on this great kingdom that Joy Boy was part of. And as he's doing that, we get some other shots here in the lab and stuff. We see Mars walking around the lab trying to clear all the transmission snails, excuse me, because they're still haven't been able to find that main one that York described, and York described it to Mars earlier. And he's going around with his Conqueror's hockey. So that makes sense. These guys are these potent leaders. they're probably these guys too. I'm wondering still if these guys really are part of the normal Gorosei. I hear like Tekken 101 talks about like the possibility of them being immortals who don't they're delegated some kind of power through Im-sama. That would definitely be interesting to find out. But I'm thinking at the very least they could be just among the nobles, because we see that people like Doflamingo too is among them, and he's not, because a lot of the world noble celestial dragons look like just fat, lazy tards now. They're just this terrible, and uh but I was just saying these guys might at the very least be members who, are of good stock, what could be left of them in the world nobles that are groomed to be potent diplomat type, no, not diplomats because obviously not nice, but they learn to be good leaders, understand politics and stuff like that. So they would get and develop, and they now we know that they've developed great strength and stuff, and they have some kind of devil fruit like powers or something. So them having conqueror's hockey as well does not seem out of the norm. So he's going around trying to destroy everything in there that will, not everything. Again, they're not trying to destroy the mother flame. Saturn's up there too. He went by the mother flame and he was just destroying snails in there. And Mars is going on other parts trying to. And you can see he is so pissed. They're so worried about how much he's going to stay here. And he does get quite a bit of good stuff out there. Also, meanwhile, though, we also see that Luffy and Dorian Bragi are still trying to flee Top Man. He's still in his main form as a pig, and he's pursuing them. They look like Luffy has realized he has to stop trying to fight them because he was trying again. He's back in his gear 5th again, and he's like he's flying around here. One moment. They're just fleeing Top Man and trying to get back to their ship. And so meanwhile, while that's happening, we go back to Vegapunk. And why is this doing it? Come on, stay awake. My computer keeps losing power on here. This one screen, stop it. Yeah, maybe that'll work. Okay. So Vegapunk goes on. Yeah, it's safe to assume that this alliance was formed by the 20 kingdoms because that was the only way they would ever be able to stand up against this other kingdom. And but he also doesn't. But he's also claimed, I still don't understand the full reason of the cause of this battle, though. And he says the only thing I could try to figure out was that there was a possibility that there was two clashing ideologies at the heart of this. And I can immediately think of what it might be, given the world government's proclivities nowadays under the Gorosei and the Eam. Come on, go back. Okay. Yeah, my main what comes to mind right away when it come about talk when he's talking about uh one second. My immediate thoughts are that the ancient kingdom, the one that lost and led by Joy Boy, at least in the battle here, was probably a kingdom who had an ideology similar to Vegapunk. I'm thinking that they were helping the world. They had so much fantastical technology that they were like how Vegapunk is a dreamer looking to help the world with free energy and improving medical stuff and living conditions in impoverished places, for example. And the other kingdoms didn't like this. They were probably jealous. First of all, jealousy is always a simple reason that you can see stuff like this happen. Wars. Second, they probably ruined their bottom line, so to speak. And again, they look at the world government as they are now. They like control. So they probably thought, no, this is taken away from us being able to do business as we see fit. I bet they didn't portray it that way, though, to their own people, because we know that now Alabasta is one of these kingdoms, and that Vivi's ancestor, despised what happened to this afterwards. She felt guilty, maybe with like blood on her hands, so to speak, and helped to disperse the poneglyphs upon some point after the war was over. But yeah, I would say the ideologies probably had to do with like freedom versus control, basically. Um, so yeah. Okay, so we continue with this, and also since he's doing this, he shows like silhouettes of the kings. I'm assuming like the other king that worked underneath Eam, or maybe Eam was actually one of them. And it's like just silhouettes with them wearing crowns that look very similar to Eam's. Maybe that one there on the left almost could be him. And they're showing them like holding spears and other weapons. So maybe that's like other soldiers with them. And above them, there's a silhouette of Joy Boy, which looks exactly like Luffy. It's just a silhouette, but you can tell because of the hair, and it's got the awakening flame around him. It's like as if they're fighting. That could have been like a silhouette from their final battle. And as we're doing that too, we see briefly the elephant. Shoot, now I'm blanking on his name. From Zoro. Didn't the elephant have a name? Oh crap. Oh, right. Zunisha. It came to me. I was just not looking up, but no. Zunisha is listening to this. You probably can hear because we also will see briefly the Carrot and the other some of the other members of that guard, the ones she was with the ones dressed up like musketeers. They're listening in, and Zunisha probably is listening in through them listening on his back, or is it her? Anyways. So that's interesting that they're showing that because Zunisha is probably thinking back about whatever part he played because it said he was like punished afterward. I wonder if he like the way. Well, actually, they talked about Luffy, Joy Boy's defeat, and Zunisha said something about being punished. I think it was for like betraying Joy Boy somehow. So I was just wondering if it was like before the final battle, and now it feels guilt for what it's done. Zunisha. Wait, where is this now? No, there it is. No, why is this going back? There it is. Uh, yeah. So Vegapunk continues like, yeah, this kingdom was so advanced. It's hard to believe they existed centuries ago as they do. And the weapons they must have used were, or he says it more like he knows what some of the weapons. He said like the weapons were so advanced that they were beyond anything of our modern science. Carrot there, she's like all excited. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this is an amazing story." Well, you got some of the other ones are kind of like, "Well, I don't know if I should believe this either." They're all looking a little skeptical there. Mm. And so we briefly cut to that to Foxy. Foxy, this guy. How long has it been since we saw Foxy? It looks like he's grew a beard and a mustache here. I didn't even really think about that. I realized it was him at first because I read this so fast. But he's there listening on a ship. Is this a different ship? Hmm. And he's like, and he's clearly not taking in any of this as fact. He just thinks this guy's off his rocker, much like those people at Mocktown. Oh yeah, and there's that woman from before. I remember her with the mask. And so he just like Foxy's like, what's this crazy guy going on about? This is just ridiculous. And as that's going on, Vegapunk's going on about how the science is so advanced that this kingdom had, even I can't figure out all of it. He doesn't explain why. It's probably mostly to do with the Iron Giant, but he makes it clear like I don't know what these guys were making, but I can't even figure it out yet. And then he stops there saying with a thing about therein lies our problem. But as that happens, we cut off for a moment and we go back to the lab. We get to see some of the other stuff happening here. And we start by seeing Stussy and Kaku at the station, at the lab station, and she's waiting there to help the Straw Hats still. And she's contacted by Edison. Uh, uh, and Edison's trying to tell her, like, Stussy, you should get out of here. Get that barrier down now and get out of here. We there's no point in even having it up anymore because now that these he calls them like monsters. Like those monsters who just can ignore it. He's like, yeah, so like just you should leave now. And while that conversation is happening, uh, yeah, Edison actually finishes off by saying, we've done all we can for them. Just I'm sure they'll make it out. Um, so while that's happening, we switch to the Straw Hats and we see Jinbei and Zoro again first, and Jinbei is still carrying Zoro. I'm sure Zoro will just run by himself at this point, and someone's contacting him. I think probably Nami. Uh, that's stupid. She's asking Jinbei how much longer, and Jinbei's like, "Yeah, we're almost there. Sorry." And Zoro gets mad, like, "Sorry, we don't have to apologize for anything." And I agree with him here. He was holding off Lucci. If they hadn't done that, Lucci would have just been a pain that would have gotten in their way. I'm so sick of people getting mad at stuff like this being portrayed this way by the other, meaning that the other Straw Hats are getting mad like this. Like this is the same thing with Luffy where he stood up against Lucci earlier. He had to hold him off, or someone else was going to get hurt. Anyways, so whoever's on the other line, probably Nami's like, "Oh, is that you, Zoro? You're gonna get it later." Um, yeah, it's Nami, right? And then she says, "Hurry up, uh, we gotta hurry up now. The ships are moving this way to block our escape on this side of the coast." Um, and she's just like going on like, "I'll never forgive if you get blasted out of the water after all this stuff." Like, so if you hold, she's basically saying putting all the blame on him for holding them up. Where that's also kind of bullshit because he was they didn't even have a way to escape until a moment ago. So whatever. um, I'll try and cool my head off. Nami and Sanji always annoy me in his story. They're, they're, no man. Oh, um, so we go back to Stussy, and so Edison sounds like he's relayed what he's doing and what's going on here, and Stussy's like, "Oh, that's good. I was really worried about Stella and the Straw Hats." Uh, and she's saying I wanted to make sure I could do all I can so that they wouldn't get caught too. And Anderson's like, "Oh, fine, whatever, but no, get out of there." But now Stussy comes to a dilemma here because she knows Stella's I think, yeah, Stella's dead, right? So she's like, "But what do I do with myself now? With Stella gone, I have no Vegapunk. I have no purpose. What will I live for in life now?" And we see Kaku even like, "Wow, that's a interesting coming from her." That's all we see from that. But that is a thing too. I wonder if Kaku will try to help. Like, um, I'm still not sure how I feel about whether on how I would feel on whether he'll probably leave too the or leave Cipher Pole Zero after this. All that's said and done, it doesn't look like Lucci will. So now we switch back to the group fighting Ethan, our horse Gorse, and they're still fighting with him. We get a great shot of like him like in the air and like uh, Bonnie's in her giant form trying to kick him, and it looks like Sanji's got blown away. So they're probably both like trying to clash with him. Also, the other two giants. I'm blanking on their names. Um, they're trying to fight him too, and it looks like he's probably using Ethan's probably using his speed to avoid some of their attacks. Uh, and one of them even says like, "Be careful." I think it's the other giant. He's like, don't let him use his sword on you. That he looks like he can cut anything with that thing." So, um, and so Ethan, what's he fighting with? Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. So that one giant, the one with the dark hair, he tries to take a swing at Ethan, but Ethan just kicks him back, and he just falls right back down. So they're just having a problem dealing with him. And then he goes after Bonnie again, and is nearly cut. He swings his sword, nearly gets her, but like Frankie comes just in time to get her out of the way. Um, So yeah, these guys are just so formidable. There's just no almost no only Luffy so far has really done well in like going toe to toe and like with speed and whatnot too. But because we got what 5 people here trying to fight him and they're just not getting anywhere with him. And this sword, this cut here with the with um of him using Kitetsu. It's like a nice one of the nicest art pieces in this shit thing. He every time he's cutting with this, it actually looks like he's somehow making the blade extend. It reminds me a bit of what was that captain's name? And the third captain in Bleach. He had that blade that could go out. Oh, I forget his name now. I haven't read Bleach in a while. And yeah, his cut he creates. It's probably just like he's using kind of a key blast thing, like we see Kaido and Big Mom could do. Because when he misses Bonnie, we get a shot here where he um the blade creates such a air cut or whatever, like hockey blast thing that it cuts off the figurehead of the giant boat. They're still like right in front of the same spot where they were fighting the vice admirals, and it right in front of the giant their ship, and the figurehead is just sliced right off. And that thing is obviously like a really thick thing of wood, like not your average tree. It's probably 10, 20 feet in diameter, I'm imagining, and it just was easily sliced off by his sword. So if that had hit Bonnie right there, she would have been done for. And as that happens too, Bonnie switches back and and this and switches back there. And so now we end that bit of the fighting, and we don't see anything else with them, I think, here. And we go back to sorry, 1 second. I was trying to just change around this screen so I can't have it too far this way, and I want to face the mic better. Um, wait here. Wait. Keep reiterating going on. So we go over quickly with to Vegapunk briefly, and he's like, the void entry ended once Joy Boy was defeated, and as this is happening, what happened now? Ethan actually, I was wrong here before. Ethan leaves the fight and leaves some fighting with the other characters, Sanji and the others, and he's getting very frustrated by this that the message has not been stopped yet. And this is where we get our first good double page spread. He's saying to himself, Vegapunk, how much are you going to tell the world? I have to stop this. And he flings up into the air, and the other giants are like, wow, he's leaving now? He wasn't. And he goes up in front of the where the lab is, like he's angling himself kind of above with parallel almost or high with the um uh labo phase area, and he says to himself, there's too many life forms up here. I have to like remove some of them, the uh them so that they can locate the transmission snail. And so he takes Kitetsu, he like winds it up, and he slices at the labo phase right at I see what you're doing. Yeah, he's slicing the labo phase right below where like the level just below where the main lab was above ground, in order to like have. I don't know if that's gonna knock it down. We see in the next panels that all the Cypher Pole agents and the Seraphim who are in the basement, I think they're falling. So that it looks like the implication is the top part with Punk Records and the main lab is where Ethan and not Ethan, where Top Man and not Top Man again, Mars and Saturn is staying up, and the other part's going down, or it's gonna somehow it's separating it so that they don't have to sense all these Cypher Pole agents anymore, so that they can narrow down whatever's left up there. They're still assuming the main transmission snail is up there near Punk Records, and they're trying to get those other people out of the way. Uh, so as that's happening, Vegapunk continues to go on and say, even though this war was over after Joy Boy's defeat, the results of this had conflict like scarred the world, and we're still living with those repercussions today. And wait, next we get another double page. Um, uh, let's see, man. That's it. Okay. So he continues this by saying, "Oh yeah, those people are just falling off the. So those people are also like the FFL agents are just falling down. Yeah, somehow the way Ethan cut it, uh, they're going down. So the other thing is it's slicing going down, even though it has like that plume holding it up, but there's it shows a bunch of them falling somehow. And as this happening, though, we continue with Vegapunk's thing, and he starts saying today that nowadays we understand that travel between islands can be excruciatingly difficult. The seas that we traverse are very perilous. There's and most people just stay in the places they grow up in because of this danger. And as that's happening, we get a bit of commentary from another location around the world, and like, hey, everyone knows that. What's he getting at? Haha, he's so silly. And then Vagabond continues by saying, but it wasn't always like that. 1,000 years ago, it was not the same as it is now. And as we do that, we get a brief shot again. Vagabond Oda's doing great in all these different showing us the other locations, and we go back to Zoro's hometown, and we see his mentor there listening as he's training a batch of new kids, and the way it's all like the fighting style, with the set like a katana, the practice swords are holding here. Uh, and this is where the big bit comes here. One of the biggest parts of the reveal here is Oda, not Oda. I'm swinging Oda because Vegapunk's like the voice of Oda here in a way. He says the main reason this is so different from the world is so different is some kind of disaster occurred during the Void Century, and the world back then was swallowed up by the ocean. The world basically like sank into the ocean, or maybe he meant like there were floods, and now all the islands we know of today that we live on are just the tops of those places. Continental fragments, he calls them, of land masses that once were. Now this is really interesting because this is like when we were at Wano, we saw that the same problem was there. This makes a lot of sense with Wano. Wow, why didn't I just piece that together now? That's probably why the walls are like that in Wano. So Wano experienced flooding too, but for a different reason. Partially, this Wano put up walls prior to, because they knew it was a when this flooding started. I bet it didn't like happen instantly. They were starting to the water was starting to rise after whatever disaster occurred that Vegapunk is mentioning here, and they put the walls up to protect their island. Unfortunately, because they didn't have any way of draining water inside, rainwater over time started flooding that, and they had to move to the top of the landmass they had. So their walls, are there still walls? They don't show that right in one, I don't think, but I don't know if there are walls in the distance that you can see. It seems like they're just at the top, and there's water that just flows over at the very, very tippy top now. I think that's how it is. But there's still like a mountain over there that, looks like Mount Fuji. But that implies that the mountains, I think, and I'm going to say here, because he's going to talk about how much the water raised. I bet that's how high the walls are in Wano. Hold on a second. Let's see. So, as he gives that exposition, we get a great shot of a underwater castle looking place with a giant, like a sea king or something, floating by it. I really like the shadowing and everything that Oda did with it is awesome. And while we get that, and then we get cut back to where the Revolutionary Army is, and they're just shocked out of their pants. Only Dragon, he's still kind of, Everyone else, we got, I see Koala, Sabo, I think there's Betty. There's the giant and um, um, what's his name now? I can't think of his. I'm blanking on all names. The big guy, the one with the who can do the gender swap. His mouth is the best. He's got the like oh he's just got his tongue out and he's freaking out like what seriously. Um, and we see Stavel's face briefly too, and he's trying to soak in this information with a little more exposition from Vegapunk talking about yes, the world that existed a millennium ago is down below us, sleeping at the bottom of the sea. Um, let's see. So he continues here, um, and we go now. We briefly switch over to Nami's hometown, and we see her sister and the gentleman with the military outfit, and and Vegapunk's going on. I know you're not gonna. It's hard to believe my words here, but they're seriously like there were multiple vast continents a thousand years ago. And the other guy's going. The one guy, the Nami's friend there, he's like, "Are you? This is insane. I can't believe this." No, but her sister kind of like she's kind of nonchalant about it. She just walks away and she said, "I gotta go check on the tangerines. Let me know what happens when I come back." um, and then goes this disaster explains perfectly why the history back then was partially erased because it was the all these other continents hidden under the sea, and no one would think to go down there and find it. Especially now that there's no technology too. To deep sea diving is like something that seems relatively new here in the One Piece world that they're doing relearning. So no one would have thought to go down that far. They also got the coding thing now. I think that's something too. Why doesn't you got that guy who Sky P not Sky P he lives on Jaya, the descendant of Nolan. I'm just thinking, why don't they just? Well, they probably can't because of who far. I was thinking he could coat. I was thinking if he can coat a ship, he could go down further into Jaya and look for stuff there, and like do all that kind of stuff safer. But Jaya Island is probably quite a bit far from Sabodi, where they use those bubbles from the trees to do the coating, because then ships are always using that to go back and forth under the red line through past Fishman Island. Um, so Vegapunk continues here saying, yes, that within a century, the amount of water that rose up in only 1 century, the water rose by 200 meters. And this is the thing that really like shocks a lot of the people. We see a lot of the uh, um, Marines. It's like, what? That can't be. A moment ago, I wonder if that's about how high the walls are around. No, actually, they'd be even higher if everything else rose. I was trying to figure out how high those walls would be around Wano. It was hard to get a good scope of that because that has to be even higher actually because we saw Zunisha, who was what a few miles tall already, standing in the water, was still not nearly as high as those walls. So that has to be even higher. So yeah, they just must have like whoever built those walls around Wano probably did not know how high the water was gonna go, and they um just prepared for the worst case scenario and just went tens and tens of miles high in a wall to protect themselves. Uh, so the Marines continue that we see reacting like, wait, it's 200 meters. A warship's only 60 meters tall. How could that be? But they're saying some of these. It looks like some of these uh, Marines are now taking this information at face value, and they're like, this can't. This, no wonder the old world would have disappeared. And some other people are yelling at him, probably like other officers, like, "Hey, stop listening to this crap. This is nonsense. We came here to arrest him and stop him. This has to be fake." And then some of them start noticing that uh, the accent with the seraphim, and they say, "Hey, we got to go rescue those people. They're falling down." So, and also in this shot, it's hard to see fully, but it looks like you can see that the way Ethan cut it, that they maybe it's because of the shield. the part he cut, the higher part with Punk Records, is still being held suspended somehow, and the other stuff just went down somehow. Then, so we also cut back briefly to Mocktown, and these people are like, "Yeah, this guy's lost his marbles. This can't be right. His tall tales are just getting worse." So we switch here briefly to first to Chopper's place when we see shit, what's his name? We see Dr. Kareha and oh, what's his name with the Bison? The new king there. And he's wondering too if this could be true. He's tying it out like he's not acting like the people in Mocktown and saying he's instantly crazy. He's just trying to absorb it. And then we just see Kareha in the background saying, "Huh, even after all this time, the world somehow keeps things interesting." And that's funny coming from her because she's one of the oldest living person we know in the story right now. If you take away the possibility of Eam and the others being immortal, and she's thinking, "Wow, I thought I'd seen everything, but man, this is the smartest man in the world. Sure know how to keep me thinking about how wild the world is." Now we switch to I think this is Miss Golden Week. We see briefly. I don't know where she's supposed to be. I know she never got imprisoned, and she and some of the other Cypherpol agents, not Cypherpol agents, Baroque work agents had escaped capture. And we see her wandering around a town that looks like a desert because it was desert town because there's a lot of cactuses, and she's listening. And then we see some other people commenting about a nearby mountain, and it's like then they say, "Oh, that one's about 200 meters." Is he really saying that there was enough water flooded that could submerge that? And they go on like, "Oh my God, just imagine all the people that must have died if the whole world went underneath in that much water." Wait, no, where is that going? Right here. Okay. Um, almost at the end. Almost at the end now. So he goes, "Okay, so Vegapunk continues. Well, now that you hear this, you must be asking yourself, how would such a flood occur, or why?" And we switch here to we're seeing Water 7 again, because you can see some of the members here with the Galila Company shirts on. Um, uh, and Vegapunk continues here. "Oh, you must be first assuming that it would probably be some kind of natural disaster." And he's like, "I can tell you, though, did not think that immediately to brush that aside. This was a man-made and caused incident." Uh, and now and now we get the reaction of we see Morgans and Vivi and what's the other king's name? I'm forgetting all the names. Morgan's is like, "Wait, this can't be true. This guy's really crazy. He's going off like I can't believe this." And Vivi, she just takes her hand and stops, shuts his beak, and like, "No, stop reacting. Let's listen to this first." Uh, how do you say this? Oh, that's what he's saying. Oh, he's saying Vegapunk continues to say like if this had been a natural disaster, the signs would have been there for a long, for years in the past. No one would avoid the signs that something like this was going to happen. Because it was such a severe event that affected the whole world. So like some kind of buildup. He's saying that would have happened. Like it's almost like where like people can measure the earthquakes and they can know something's might. No, that can't be quite right. All right, I'm gonna stop. Not use a good. That's a bad metaphor. Excuse me. So he's saying any kind of natural buildup like that would have been obvious. So it's, all my research in this kind of stuff and geology and meteorology and everything else, I can prove that there's no way that, especially if in advanced societies back then, could not have known about it. So um, it's just impossible that that could have happened like that over that course of time too. So this naturally means that some kind of that something else must have happened. And he said, then he goes on to point out my suspicions were confirmed a few days ago when when I analyzed the world's current sea levels. Okay, now I'm a little confused by this now, because I was thinking the Lucia incident caused some of the problem. Wait, that's it. But how would he still know? I'm wondering if the Lelucia, if the yeah, this still must have something to do with Enni's lobby too, as other people have pointed out. Like the water, that Lelucia, the water, the hole over Enni's lobby was caused by the ancient weapon, the one we saw at Lucia, and then now by doing that, it's causing the water to go higher. Hmm, interesting. Okay. Anyways, he's saying now when I saw the when I started realizing this, so basically I get what he's going to. He's saying by studying the poneglyphs and seeing that um that the story that poneglyphs tell of a world cataclysmic event with the waters rising that high, he started looking into water levels across the world here and saw that it was going to rise again. So it almost makes me think that it's the water is rising despite the not because of the Lulusia incident. So I'm a little confused on that. Then he goes on. Um, then he says, this is where he gets to the last bit that we leaves a cliffhanger. He's like, I know this will be hard to accept, but the cause of this disaster was caused by the ancient weapons of an advanced technology capable of destroying the world like that. And he's saying, based on what I'm seeing with the water levels, I can safely say that this fighting firepower must still exist. And he's saying, in other words, if this great this the cat the I'm gonna just read it verbatim. The Great War which ravaged the world during the early century is still ongoing. I think that's a little dramatic. He's basically saying that the fallout of what happened there is still can affect us now, and we're already starting to see it. And as he did this shot, we cut to some of the other Gorosei listening, and at the last panels, as he's talking about the firepower and stuff, it switches to Pangea Tassel, and we see Eam listening, and he must be he. This part seems to get him. His eyes. We see his eyes briefly. We're still not gonna see anything of his face. The first panel is him. He's in his room with that butterflies and stuff. The little peaceful place he's got. But there's like this doom at the end with his eyes, and his eyes just look like he's like, oh, now he really has gone too far, like a punk. I bet at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the next chapter we start hearing him communicate with the girl, saying, "What are you guys doing? Shut him up. He might bring me up," which would really throw people off because of the empty throne lie they've been telling everyone. But that's the end of the chapter. So a lot to go over there. So water meter, yeah. So he's hinting at the ancient weapons, I'm sure, and he's probably. I wonder if he'll in the next chapter if he'll go over their names. Um, Now I don't think when he's talking about that, when it's really gonna mean. I'm not sure if that will mean Princess Shirahoshi. I'm thinking this will be Pluton and Uranus. So the question I'm having though was one weapon wielded since the Gorosei have Uranus presumably. I wonder if they used that and the other side had Pluton and where they were fighting each other with those things, and maybe they had those things mass produced back then and were fighting each other with that kind of stuff, like air power versus sea power, basically. Because Uranus is that's it, yeah, air power. So the Uranus is probably a flying ship, and they might have had others like that they could cart around troops and other stuff, and they had one like that that can shoot laser beams. And Pluton is supposed to be this island destroying thing too that can just like blast like it's probably worth a few hundred of the current battleships in the One Piece world, based on the way Crocodile talked about it. Um, so we didn't get a whole lot more on Joy Boy, unfortunately. Here, we just knew that it just led more into the stuff about the cataclysm that caused the world, why so much of the old world is lost. Which now that makes sense. I guess I kind of was just thinking that the ancient kingdom itself was probably just destroyed using something like Pluton or the Uranus, and then everything else, the other islands we see around the world, maybe bigger places that became battlefields just got cleaned up and people just moved on. But now that I think about that, that really wouldn't have made sense because the people would still be talking about ancient ruins and stuff, and that happens all the time here. You got all kinds of ruins of interesting cities from in the Middle East, for example, that are fascinating stuff. And it actually reminds me of a good story. Uh, there's this podcast I listened to, and he was doing a story about the Greco-Persian Wars that happened in the 2400 years ago, and he was talking about how the there were in the Middle East a lot of a lot of those old kingdoms prior to the Persian Empire had fantastic cities, and there was a story about this Greek mercenary who was they were working for the Persians, and they were camping out in a big one of those ancient cities, and he was just blown away by it because it was unlike anything that were building in Greece at the time. At that point too, even Greece was coming out of a dark age where the Myonians, I think you're called, the ones that were had collapsed centuries ago, and there were the ruins of that in their country in Greece. But then he was over there in the Middle East and seen these fantastic cities that were abandoned, and I don't know if they ever brought like the Persians. It almost made it out like the Persians were similar to like what happened here with the world government, where maybe they tore down these old kingdoms and then they built up their new empire, and but they didn't know how to fully replicate either the technology, the architecture, as it were. So I'm getting a lot of vibes of that. And I'm sorry, with all this tangent, I was just pointing out that what I'm getting at is he's my theory about like, oh, the world just moved on after the war. Like, no, they did, but no one knows anything about the. It makes more sense now why the world wouldn't talk about. Oh, what are these things that happen? What must have happened that all these other ancient structures are like? Say there are some other places in Alabaster or in one of the other blues. Uh, when they'd be like, "Hold on, wonder who built that thing, Daddy? Do you know who would have built that?" We have no idea, son. But I'm sure the archaeologists on shit, what's Robin's Island? O'Hara would figure it out. We'll figure it out. See, so more people would be talking about it. But now we can see that that's not the case because it seems likely that the world government, EAM, decided to uh, do this, if cause this event to happen to bury the past, literally flood the past. I guess bury it underwater so that no one would know about it. He truly seems like it's probably him who was the architect of that idea. Thought he didn't want the world to know anything about it anymore, and that's the other reason why. Why did he not want that? We don't know yet. We know ever since O'Hara, ever since Robin's flashback, that's been a big thing, and maybe we'll get a little more of the answers in this next chapter. On a side note, I'm very glad that they showed more of the other characters like Foxy and that come back. I'm also glad we saw. I'm trying to figure out though. I wonder what's going to happen with Stussy. I hope she comes with the Straw Hats. I hope her and Kaku do really. I feel like that could be a possibility where Kaku would be a gentleman, be honorable enough to say, "Hey, I want to just get out of here. I'm not going to do anything. Let's have a truce at the very least." And it's funny again to see that Demalo back or Demiro back. Oh, that's right, because L is an R's. It's nice to see that guy again. It's funny that I'm glad he got locked up though, because despite him being like a comic relief type character, he actually is quite vicious. And you saw he tried to take Luffy out, and obviously he couldn't. But he he almost as bad as Caribou. Caribou we saw kill someone at Saboti. We still don't know where he is here either. But that guy too, the guy Damalo, I'm gonna call him. He was not a good character either. So it's good he's locked up now. Um, and yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it now. It's pretty late where I am. I need to let this sit in here, stew over this a little bit, and I think I should do a small video on the next time about how this flooding thing. I said I was going to before, but now I really think I can get another video out of this because there's so much to talk about here with this. Also, Zunisha, right, is walking around. All right, no, I'm gonna leave this alone tonight. I'm tired. I need to go edit this and get it up. So thanks for watching.